Welcome, everybody. It has been a little while, and Christy and I apologize for that, but we have had some stuff going on, but this is very important to us, and we know that the conversation that we are having around the entrepreneur and their second in charge is the most important conversation that we could be having. And so we know that you guys have missed us, and thank you so much for allowing us to take a little bit of time off. Today is going to be probably one of the best conversations that we've ever had. There's going to be so much knowledge, so much about building teams here. We just can't wait to dive in. That's why we're starting a little bit early today. So welcome to season 2, episode number 5 of the Leader Equation. Today's podcast has Cece Underwood and her director of operations, Katy Haluch, on today. So say hi, guys.
Hello.
So here's the deal. If you are just joining us for the first time, I'm Lindsay Soprani, CEO of Soprani Consulting. We're a top recruiting and consulting firm in the country for all things real estate. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, Christy Belt-Grossman, CEO of Ops Boss Coaching, the ultimate resource for training and coaching for real estate ops bosses. And so welcome to the Leader Equation. We are super excited to dive in here and learn from these two. They've been together for 3 years now, correct, guys?
Yes.
All right. And so what I want you to do is, Cece, maybe you can start, but just give us a little bit of a background on who you are, how people might know you, and how you got into real estate. And then Katy, we're going to do the same with you. And then we'll kick it over to Christy for those quick fire questions. Sound good?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Hey everyone, Cece Underwood. I've been in real estate since 2007, got in the crash as a part-time agent. I was actually part-time for 2 years before getting full-time, got married, had a baby and another one year after year after year, and was growing a team. Went through as a short sale expert, went through the equity sales, and so now here we are today. Our team is comprised of Katy, 2 transaction coordinators, 1 ISA, 1 marketing coordinator, and 6 agents that include myself. We just sold just under 300 units in 2020. And I sell maybe 1 or 2 homes a month myself.
Yep. I am Katy Haluch. I am the director of operations, obviously, for CC, Sellin with CC in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, and Nassau County. I've been on the team for 3 years. I started as a transaction coordinator for a year, and I've been in this role for 2. Before that, I was an agent services director for the Keller Williams Market Center that we were at previously.
Awesome. Good. Well, thanks for joining us. Super excited to hear from you guys because I know you had an incredible banner year with lots of ups and downs last year. So that's going to be fun to talk about. First, we're going to do a quick fire so everybody can get to know you really fast. So how many years for each of you in real estate?
2007.
Okay.
So 13 years maybe?
13, 14. And Katy?
4.5 if you include at Keller Williams.
And then 3 years together. Year 1 profit or loss, and what was the amount, and what do you forecast your profit to be this year, or what was it last year?
So I'm excited to take this one. I don't know what your first year in business was, but 2018 is when I started on the team, and we were at 17%. That's when I had no involvement in it. Following year, we doubled to 33% profit. And then we just closed out 2020 at almost 37.5% profit.
That's awesome. I love that you know your numbers, and B, did you see that? And I wasn't with you, and it was 17%.
Oh, yeah. When I took over, it doubled.
By the way, I don't think you guys gave numbers. I think it's okay if we give the numbers. In terms of your GCI last year was about 2.3 million, I think. Mm-hmm. So awesome. So that gives people a general idea. Okay, how many on the team year 1? How many on the team now?
So, I did follow the model. It was myself, an agent, and an admin. We started there and have gone up and down and up and down. So currently now there are 11 of us total.
Okay, awesome. And then book that impacted you the most?
For me, it'd probably be any of the Rachel Hollis books. Those are the first ones that I started reading about self-development. So those are the ones that have stuck with me the longest.
I'm a big fan of Patrick Lencioni. So Leaders Eat Last is probably one of my favorites.
Okay, awesome. Good books for your list. Everybody's always looking for reading this time of year. Okay, how many streams of income do each of you have?
I have 2, my regular position and profit share, but hoping to grow that.
Okay.
I have 3.
Awesome.
profit share, rental income, and real estate income.
Perfect. And last question, superpower.
So mine, I'm going to preface this by saying someone else's director of operations said this, so I feel like it's okay. But dealing with Cece the way that I can deal with her, because I don't think many people can.
I would agree. My superpower, I say, is neutrality. Not being able to absorb or give emotions is my superpower.
Oh, that's a good one. I
love
love that one. No one's ever said that one. Okay, awesome. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, our podcast is about the relationship between the entrepreneur and the shotgun leader, inside and outside real estate, about what adds to the leadership formula, what subtracts, what divides, and most importantly, what multiplies your results. So I'm going to throw it back to Lindsay so we can dive into the real conversation. Let's do this.
Yeah, so we want to know, how did we find Katy, Cece? Like, how did that happen? How did she come into your life? And how did you know that she was going to grow to where she was right now? Or did you know, I guess, is the better question.
Well, she, like she said, she worked at the market center that we were with. I started with KW. I've been there forever. I've never been anywhere else. And so just growing a relationship with her in the market center as agent services, like literally I would just come in there and sit and talk in her office and she would do the same. She'd take a walk down. We were next door and talk with me. And so when, situations arise in the market center and she needed a job and literally was like, hey, what do you need? And she said, I need a job. I said, done like that. Just knowing her and her work ethic, it was a no-brainer for me to hire her for whatever she needed. And there was no position. It was just, you're hired.
The thing is, I started as a transaction coordinator, but there were agents that were like, so what do you do here? Like weeks in, I'm like, so I have no idea, really.
Literally was just like me in my protection mode. Like I said, I'm not an emotional person, but I'm very passionate and protective person. So it was like, all right, you're one of my people. Like, you're going to get taken care of by me no matter what. Like, and she had other offers.
Oh my God.
Lots of people wanted her.
Well, what was it about her that you got to observe? I said this before the call, like you got to observe her in the wild before you brought her into your jungle. What was it about Katy that made you say, like, I don't even have a position for her, but I want her on my team?
It's just her passion. Like, she knows how to get things done. And she was always, she worked so well. I saw how well she worked with the team leader that we have, that really, it was a yin and yang. And, not having that person, again, not knowing that she would be my yang, but still, this was always someone that I wanted to be in business with. She's a protector. She's a grower. I think just her natural character is someone that I grew close with, and I'm not a trusting person at all. So I just have always felt very protective of her.
I love that what you just said. Sorry, Lindsay, I'll let you jump in after this, but you said she's a protector and she's a grower. I love that because I always think that as you get onto a larger team, you really do need a combination of empire builder and empire protector and not just a protector.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and we have to ask Katy, why did you choose Cece? So if other people were, throwing jobs at you, what about Cece made you want to be in business with her?
It's kind of the same thing. We built a relationship beforehand. So I was actually she had a position open for a little while and I had no idea what it was. It was a transaction coordinator. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I feel like a change might be coming. Is that position still open? She said, yeah, but we're going to be interviewing soon. And I told her, I was like, would you hold off just so I can kind of see what happens? And she said, if you're serious, I will hold off. So I was like, okay, done. Because we already had that friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw how her team ran. It was different than all of the other teams. I'm very much a person that I'm not going to jump for more money. I'm going to jump for the culture piece of it. So I saw the culture piece and that was what was really important to me. People tried to recruit me from being on staff at the market center. And that just wasn't my journey because I'm not one to leave for more money when I know it could be so much worse and I could have so many more problems than just more money.
Well, and what is the culture? So we've got to ask that, like, what did you specifically see there? Can you remember what it felt like? And explain the culture to us, because I think that's a thing that so many people are like, oh, I went for the culture. But it's interesting, right? There's a perception that you see when you're on the outside of what the culture is, and then once you get in there, there are a lot of times that it's different. So was it the same? Was it different? And what did that look like?
I don't know if it was the same or if it was different, but I knew obviously production, because everyone looks in production. And so I obviously knew the numbers because I worked on the staff. So I knew that my best friend at the time was actually also in this position. So I knew that was also kind of a little perk for it. But all of the agents on the team, I got along with them in general. So then obviously all together, I've never had an issue with them. I'd go in, everyone was very relaxed, but it was kind of like, get shit done, but also have fun. And that's kind of been the culture throughout all of the waves that the team has gone through, even in the last 3 years. It's always been, we can have fun as long as our job gets done. And that's very much so in line with what I agree with. And then just not always, I don't know, the grass isn't always greener on the other end.
Agreed. Not a lot of people are smart enough to see that. Cece, what did you see in her? And I think this is going to take us into so many other conversations, or I know it will at least, but what did you see in her? Like, how did you know that she was going to become that director of operations? And when did that happen? Walk us through that.
I think, her just going into the position, it was, really, I would say I would describe it as just pure relief. And I think we have a saying on our team, is that if you make our jobs harder, we won't be in business with you. And that speaks to, I think, hires, positions, vendors, relationships, anything that we do. If we're bringing someone on and now I feel overwhelmed or I feel stressed, there's something that's not right. And when she came on, I just felt relief. And that the relief then leads to, even more trust, because again, she was kind of taking the reins and was like, truly, all right, let's figure it out. Because we had no systems, we had nothing. She had to truly create everything and figure out what the team needed and go through that, transaction coordinator process and kind of pick from and she would go out and find it, and wasn't relying on me, and putting more stuff back on me, like, can you do this? And it was always like, hey, I'm going to do this. And then, we would talk about it. And if something like I didn't like it or was wrong, then I would speak up. And it was so nice. And even still today, where she just does things. And then I really only speak up if I have an input, a comment, or if it's something that I totally don't like, then I'll speak up. But otherwise, I love the fact that she drives with me. I love the fact that she's not afraid of me. Like, key number one, she's not afraid of me. And I cannot tell you how important and special that is in that relationship.
So Katy, I have a question for you, knowing Cece a little bit and knowing she's probably, like me, one of the highest D people that I know. And a lot of director of ops work with high D rainmakers. What's your advice for how not to take that kind of interaction personally? Like, how do you keep, Cece's awesome at keeping the emotion out of it. How do you do that as her partner?
I think one of the big things that helps me is knowing, okay, overall, this is her business. This is her child. So she's been in this for 13 years, 14 years. So, she's obviously going to be overprotective of it. And so you really have to build trust. Trust comes with time. It's not just given. So she definitely has given me more free reign over time because I've proven myself. So you have to prove yourself. You have to prove that you're there for the business and not for yourself, and you're there for the team and the organization. I think that that's really big. Because if she ever saw anything shady or like I was trying to cut her out of something, obviously that's on me. And so even if I don't agree with something that she's saying, I give my opinion. Sometimes I give it 2 or 3 times. And if she is adamant about, I'm like, okay, it's your business. Like, I'll do it if that's what you want. I'm just wasting my opinion. So sometimes I get I told you so on my end, and then vice versa. So it's just, you have to know that it is a partnership. And so you have to build that trust overall, I think. And then I think setting expectations with your leader and knowing, like, you hired me for a reason, and my reason is to make your job and your life easier. So you have to be open to what I have to say, at least listening to it, and just let me try it out. And if it doesn't work, we'll 100% go back to the way you like it, but let's at least try.
Yeah. And I would say that from the beginning, I've always believed in allowing people to make mistakes. Like that's one thing that rings true for anyone, sales, ops is, I want you to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You're not perfect. So please don't try to be. Like, don't put that front in. I expect you to make them and own it and fix it and move on. And, you know, don't feel bad about it. Just learn from it as much as you possibly can, because it's the only way you're going to learn and grow, especially from a position that I'm not able to train, right? Like, what's my opinion worth if I literally don't know how to do that job?
Very true.
You know, I just think it's not my place. It's like, hey, you're going to grow this and we're going to talk about it and we're going to get feedback and then we're going to find which way to move forward.
I think your gift of being able to take the emotion out of it helps you able to have those conversations and move forward, because you hear a lot of people say, fail forward. We want everyone to make mistakes, but they don't create the culture around that so that people actually do feel comfortable doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a gift I think that you guys have.
Well, and I think it's interesting, right? So just to piggyback off of that, you know, the non-emotional piece to this, I feel like is so awesome and easier to work with. Why were other people scared of you? Like, what is happening there? Walk us through that. Like, you're the tamer.
No, everyone's terrified of CC. And it's funny because I'm not, but I know why they would be, because she does come off really intense. And so part of my job, honestly, like 20 of the 40 hours if I'm working that, is reminding her like, hey, like that might be a little intense. And I have to tell her to do it to me, because like I'll give her something and she has this face. And so I have to say like, fix your face. That's like a whole saying on the team. And I was like, Cece, I worked on this, like stop it. And then like we've had marketing people in the past and they're trying to understand what she wants. And she's not always the easiest to read coming onto the team. And so she'll see something and she's like, ew, no, you can't do that. Like, so it's really, that's a big piece of it.
Yeah. She's literally going behind me all the time. Is like, okay, that's not what she meant.
Yeah. Because she says she's so direct, and not everyone is that way. Really, no one else on the team has that. And I have it to a certain extent, but I do have more emotion in certain ways. I am very much so like, okay, it's done. But I do see where other people have emotions. And so that's where I'm kind of the good buffer.
How do you protect yourself in that though? Because there's so many people that watch and you know, there are so many people that are working for ACC out there, right? I mean, we hire for it all day long, every day. And we talk about it in the interviews all the time. And how do you stay unemotional? Because I mean, I have seen the CC personality just break people down. And so what are your tricks for yourself?
So I'll like go put a massage on the company card every once in a while. I don't recommend that if you don't get along with your rainmaker. That's something. I don't know. I think that sometimes like when I do feel that, I am very open in telling her what I need from her. And that was one of the only times that I thought about leaving the team was in my first year, and being trained by CC as a transaction coordinator. She was my trainer, and that was the worst training experience I've ever had in my entire life. Christy, I'm sure you're nodding your head. But I told her, I was like, I need to know if I'm doing a good job, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I don't know which way is up. And so that was the only time I ever actually thought about leaving the team. But even to this day, I think I know her personality so well, what she likes, what she doesn't like. Everyone wanted to buy her this big, expensive birthday present. I'm like, that's not her thing. Like, so just knowing each other really well. And so I have to remind her sometimes, like, what's my love language? I need words of affirmations. I need you to tell me that I'm doing a good job. And I also need you to buy me pretty things sometimes.
I do that. I do that better than I do the verbal
things.
I constantly think about her when I'm out.
I think that's such a great example, because there's a lot of people, you guys are at, Katy, you're pretty high D too. You're just not as high D as Cece is, but you're both high Ds, but your love languages are completely different.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great conversation for every duo to have.
Yeah. So I think understanding, in my position, understanding your rainmaker's disc and what they need and how they need information delivered or ideas delivered. And then vice versa, the rainmaker especially needs to know how they can talk to them and also what their love language is. I think that's huge coming from that person, because it shows that she actually cares.
Well, it's respect. I mean, it's, you know, whenever you have this duo, I mean, this literally, you know, you're second in command. This is the person that you should trust pretty much more than anyone in the world, because this is your family, this is your business. It is, you know, like you said, I am very protective of it. And so to have someone have 100% full access to everything in my business, you know, it's business and personal, and we can switch from business to personal, but there has to be that level of respect there that is, you know, if you're going to be here, there's nothing less, you know, you cannot have anything less than 100% respect and trust for each other. Because once that feeling goes away, then it's really not a partnership at that point. So I trust her. Like, I know she's not going to go crazy. I know if they need food in the office and she was on the car, like, I'm not going to chastise her for, you know, getting food for the girls. And, you know, hey, she needs to go to Home Goods and she wants to make the office pretty. Like, it's whatever. Like, if that's what you need and that's what you want to do, like, she's got full reign to do that. And I'm like, I'm not going to worry about tiny little stuff like that, you know? And I like thinking about her. Sometimes I go a little crazy and you're like, you need this, and, you know, but I won't buy anything for me, but I would love to buy things for her. So that kind of works.
Yeah, it works for me. It's the same thing with my husband. So this is just like a second husband for me. I'm the one that spends the money.
What was the toughest conversation you guys have ever had to have? Like the one that was like, you probably should have had it sooner, or maybe you didn't have to have it sooner. Maybe it just happened. Have you ever had to have a really tough conversation?
I don't know if there's been a tough conversation. I think there's conversations that maybe Katy wanted to have, but I already knew she wanted to have conversations about. And like I said, it's so easy, even if she might be afraid to bring, you know, questions up like income or things like that. Like, I already know. I already know what she's thinking. I already know what she's feeling. I'm very much aware of her whole being, what's going on. But I don't know, what do you think?
I think honestly, the hardest one was when I first started, and it was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like I'm doing a terrible job. And trying to rein CC in back then was even harder than it is now. Like, now it's a piece of cake. So back then, and I was still one of those people that was kind of scared of her. Like, I wasn't to the extent of other people, but it was still intimidating. Like, she's still my boss. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, these are legal binding contracts. And she's like, well, you can mess up. Like, it's okay. Like, we'll fix it. And I'm like, okay, but that's not what I want. Cause I'm like, someone's going to sue me. So I think that was the hardest part. And that was the first time that I really understood that I have to tell her what I need. Otherwise she's not going to know.
I think that's such great advice.
Yeah. It really is. Well, and you know, it's interesting because it makes me wonder, you know, with you guys, how you got there and how you got to this trusting place. Because Cece, and maybe you can speak to this, maybe you're just not this way at all, but what we see is somebody like you in the position that you're in, and like, instead of being open with a credit card, go buy whatever you need decoration wise and whatever, it's, you know, this person goes out and does something, and then it's like, this shark is on them where it's like, well, why'd you do that? We don't need that. We have this. Or like, I'll see like somebody will be like, oh, I ordered a ton of new folders and I didn't realize that there were folders there. So now we have double the folders, and they get yelled at. And so is that just not you, or did you guys get to a place where maybe it was a little bit like you and it, you know?
Probably more opposite.
It's honestly, I yell at her about it.
Yeah, because I'll find a good deal, like, you know, for instance,
The Santa pants
and the Arctic cups, like they were literally 70% off. And so I ordered in bulk and thought we could use them for something. And she's like, what are you doing?
She bought these, okay, so preface. She bought these little Santa pants that were like this big for this event. She buys like 500 from China. And she sends it, like, oh, isn't this cute? I'm like, yeah, it's cute. Like, what are we going to use it for? I don't know. We'll use it for something. And then I find out, she's like, oh, but they were only this amount. And I was like, okay, cool. How many did you order? She ordered like 500 or 600. I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
All these tiny little Santa pants with a little handle.
We've had them for like 3 years. We still have them.
Yeah.
So now.
Not as bad as all the candy canes that have been in our office for 3 or 4 years.
So it's honestly more like sometimes she does get distracted by shiny things like that. And so I have to be like, no, like, we don't need that. We also don't have the space for that. And so that's something that because I'm the one that gets stuck trying to figure out where to put it and what to do with it and
Right.
how to utilize it. And like the other day, she comes in, well, I saw we were running low on toilet paper. I had a 36 roll pack of toilet paper. So I'm like, you think you're helping and I appreciate that, but don't. That's very much
just stop. And that's why your profitability went from 17% to 37% with you on the team.
It's checking, like, it's always like, I don't have a spending problem personally. It's like the business and, oh, let's get folders and we need this and extra stuff. So yeah, she's the one saying no.
Well, that's great. And I mean, so it's funny because that is like a totally opposite of the question that I'm asking, which is awesome. What do you think you would say though, if you knew that there's a lot of people out there that are like, no, man, and I mean, Katy, I'd love to know what you would think if she had been that way with you on top of who she is already. How do you think that would have made you react?
Me personally, I'm not a bite my tongue for very long person. So it would have either been a blow up because I would have held it in until I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't, like, this needs to change or I'm out. And so then the ball's in their court. So it's like, okay, either you need to do some self-reflecting and realize like, you can't treat me that way. And you do have to realize that like like I said, you hired me for a reason. And so if you're going to just do my job, why am I here? And so I think that that's one of the biggest things. So just saying like asking for permission, hey, can I have your permission to take over this? And then you're telling them that you're going to hold them accountable to it. Hey, I'm supposed to do this. Is there a reason you're doing it? Like, are you unhappy with me? Because when you feel like someone else is doing your job, you think that you're not doing it good enough. And that was something that I learned when I was a transaction coordinator, actually, is having that conversation with, okay, well, if you're taking this, is it because I'm not doing a good job? Because no one wants to feel like they're not doing their job well. And so that's what they're inadvertently doing if they don't realize it.
Right.
I also think from a rainmaker perspective, if it was like that, like I also feel there are some rainmakers that do it because one, it is our nature just to get stuff done. But also it's because we are waiting for someone to have that voice to force themselves to say, stop, like I've got this. And so I think if you are in that, right-hand position, and you're still kind of meek to your rainmaker, like they're probably waiting for you to just grab the bull by the horns and go do something.
100%. So Cece, we had a question come in. When Katy pushes back on something you really want to do, how do you want her to approach that conversation with you?
I mean, she does. I mean, let's just talk about like leads, sources and things like that, right? And so I know where she wants to be. We have a group goal for our profitability. So for instance, I went kind of stupid nuts and I'm like, all right, let's go all in on this. That's me. I love going all in. And it was like $5,000. And she was like, whoa, whatever, kind of, all right, it's your business now. Let's look at it. And there's other accountability measures in place for that. But I know to make sure she stays sane that if I go do something else, that number has to go down. Like I already know that, hey, I'm going to do this, but we're going to cancel this now. So I'm not raising, what our lead generation source is, and I'm not decreasing our profitability. I am always, even for myself, I'm keeping that always top of mind because that is what again, that's her. It's a respect level. That's what she's looking at. We do profit share and the numbers do matter. So it's important that if that is important to her, then I'm going to take that into consideration and say, okay, well, is there something that I can swap A for B? Like, what do we not have to have in order to have the same amount of expenses and just, swap it?
Yeah, because it wouldn't be fair for me when I'm the one that's being held to holding the profit where it needs to be. And that's something that I like, just like when I said earlier, what our numbers were, it's something that I'm really proud of where we've gotten. And then she's asking, well, what's the profit? Why is it that way? We need to cut down on expenses. Okay, well, you want me to do that, but you're adding all of these things. So you have to understand that impacts it and it can't be my fault. And so then whenever she does sign up for that, I always say, okay, well, let's give it a couple of months. She knows that she's not allowed to sign like year-long commitments without talking to me. So I'm like, okay, well, let's look at it in 3 months and see, because if you sign a year, know that is 20 grand versus 7 grand, like something like that. And so that's a respect thing that I appreciate because she's almost asking me for permission half the time. And that's what I need. Because otherwise she used to just throw things like, oh, I signed up for this. Oh, I signed up for this. And so that has decreased quite a bit in the last 2 years.
Yeah. There was like someone came up with like a TV type opportunity, and this thing was going to be, $5,000 to $10,000 a month. And it was something that we talked about together. Again, I value her opinion because her perspective is so much different than mine. And where I believe I do have a strong, mindset and affinity for marketing. It is how I built my business. It's the one thing I do better than anyone. I do have very strong opinions on it, and I still respect hers. And a matter of, hey, let's look at it from this way. I want her perspective. I want to see, if it is, all right, let's do in the middle, or hey, let's just talking it out, right? What Rainmakers do in masterminds, you should do with your DOO. And hey, so if you're telling me we have this much as a budget, like, let's really look at it then. Like, if this is a real possibility, what's the ROI if we did this, or if we split it up, or if we went all in, and then I think your conversation, we looked at everything and really came up with a decent solution.
Cece, what blind spots does Katy cover that you have, and vice versa? Or do you not have any?
Oh, I have blind spots. I think, so people think I'm unaware, but I will tell you, I am probably one of the most aware people. Because I rip through the office and it seems like I don't know what's going on. So I do believe, I do know. I've got a good handle of what's going on. I don't always say things, or, I tend to let things ride a little bit and a little more chill in that perspective. And then she and I will talk, but I mean, definitely in terms of like love language things, I am totally blind to. I'm very, very blind to personal needs. That is very, very difficult for me. So even her putting her birthday on my calendar and reminding me, yes, it sounds kind of shitty. Like, she has to remind me of her birthday, and I could put it on repeat and everything, but that is something that I need. And it's like, if you want me to do something for you, then I literally have just trained my brain that it must be on my calendar or it won't get done. And so I'll just go in and out and go. And also around personal, really anything on that personal line. Like, even though I want everyone, we've got like kind of a take whatever time off you need. If you need to work from home, great. We've got a good maternity leave program. Like, I'm just not a stickler on that, but I know where to like pull back on my crazy for work. And when it gets to be if I make a statement or something, then Katy's there. But I would say that anything personal is a huge blind spot for me.
I love that. I think that's actually really
well.
common.
And we know you guys we know that you guys had a little bit of a shakeup too. And I mean, you've been growing. I mean, so Cece, just walk us through, like, what has your team kind of looked like over the last couple of years? How many people did you have, and you went up to a certain amount and then back down? Just walk us through like what's happened when you've been growing, because you've been growing it for a couple of years now.
Yeah, it's, kind of like that, those little balls that are like, ooh, and you know what I'm talking about? Like, things. I think it's been kind of like that. It's, you start small, you've got your 3 people and everything is rainbows, and hey, you come work with me because I like you so much. And, I know you and you want to start part-time for me. So it's very much this, hey, we're rocking and rolling. Any new business, I feel like, is like that. And then it was like, okay, well, we're starting to grow now. We're getting more business. And now the hiring, oh my gosh, the admin turnover. When I tell you, I hired a walking alcoholic and all kinds of stuff that has always just PTSD on that. It seemed like every single year I was hiring an executive assistant, right? Every single year they were leaving for something. I had 2 in 2 years that had military husbands that went to Italy. I'm like, what are the freaking chances? And so it was always this hard thing was the admin. It was absolutely hardest. And then the agents, we transitioned. I was looking at all the people on stage and they were spending tons of money on like Boomtown and Commission Sync and Curator. At one time I had 2 completely overpriced, expensive systems that were generating, thousands of leads a month or hundreds of leads. And we had no business doing that. Like, We had no ISAs. We did not have agents. It was awful. We were just down. And then we decided to cut it and go back. At the time, we were about a 10% or just under a 10% referral-based team because we were so focused on this inbound crack. And we got rid of, agents at that time and those that shouldn't be with us. And our culture changed too. Because again, we were looking all outside and it was like, oh, you're rah, and you got a book club and you do this. And, we're going to do that too, because that's what they do. And it was so like it wasn't me. And I think when we cut all of that, we're like, all right, we're going to get down to the cool people, like the ones that I like. I'm going to just stop being afraid to be me. I'm not going to wear this freaking suit skirt that is living on the internet forever. I'm not going to pose. I'm not going to do, this whole professional thing. I was done with it. And I think that was really the turning point that we started getting great people in. And even then, right, there's still a small turnover, but it wasn't huge. And we started growing in sales. It's also the part-time where I got a coach back then. I think I've had a coach for 6 or 7 years. And then ended up getting out of production quickly, became a MAPS coach, did that for a couple of years, and then got, basically stopped that and really got back to the team as we were growing. And then it was just like people were coming in, we're attracting all this business, and we had a huge growth year. I want to say we grew 47% from 2018 to 19. And that was just huge. It was almost 100 unit growth. And then we were at our largest 18 or 20 people at the beginning of 2020. And then, that went down and we were still able to produce more, had higher volume with less people and really come out on top. And I've always seen that almost every 3 years growing the team, there's been a change, either an environmental change, a market shift change, or an internal team change, the way that we paid our team, the way that we structured. So, and I love that. Like, I love change because to me, change means there is like this catalyst for me to find a solution. And so I thrive in those kind of environments. And to some, it might seem inauthentic because I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is a good thing. This is always a good thing. But it's truly like, I believe all change is good. I love it. We've never, ever gone backwards from having someone leave our team. Never. We've never, it's never been a bad thing. Our team has always gotten better and stronger. So I believe that just new energy and new life and new people, it just takes your business to the next level. And when you think you have good, then you find great. And then that, it always elevates every single time. So, and I don't put pressure on myself. Like, I have to do this year. Like, very much, it's not good. It's not good for your mental well-being, your physical, your stress. Like, if I'm not having fun, I don't want to do it. And I will not put that stress on me. I won't put that stress on people. That is not what I want to build.
Having watched you guys go through this past year, I hope so many Rainmakers are really listening to what you said, because although you and I were not talking, Katy and I were talking, and the effect of the words and the certainty and the confidence that you had that change is good and that we will go from good to great transferred into Katy's leadership, which transferred to the rest of the team. And I don't always see that when teams are navigating those rough waters. You guys navigated some rough waters. Tell us a little bit about what happened over this 2020 season.
May Massacre.
May Massacre.
So we started going into 2020 at about 20 people, between 18 and 20, I don't know the exact number, because 2019 was so much growth. And so that was really stressful because that was my first year in the position. So I'm like learning my job in general. And so 2020, I got a coach thinking, okay, we're going to do all of this stuff. Like, I'm going to have this huge team. Like, I need to know what to do. And then it just kept going down and down and down and in 2020 overall, and that's with operations and with the team. I'm the only operations person that's been here longer than 3 months, I think, or 4 months maybe. So that was really tough.
it's great. You know, and I'm over here, I'm like, this is so awesome.
I know, and I'm trying to hire new operations people, and then another one's leaving. I'm like, another one's leaving. Okay, well, I don't really know what he's doing. But yeah, so we lost 7 people within 45 days in 2020. So that was probably around the time that I cried on a coaching call. I try not to be a crier too much, but sometimes it gets the best of me. But it was brutal, and it's hard for someone in my position because I keep trying to do better and better, and then I just keep going. Like, as soon as we take one step forward, we take 2 steps back, and so it felt defeating in the moment. And then I have Cece, who is just like, okay, it's great, like it's fine, like we'll figure it out, and I'm just like, oh yeah, but I have to offboard them, and then I have to onboard, and then I have to offboard. So those were the tough times, but one of the big lessons that I learned in 2020 that actually resonated, I'd heard her say it before, was you just have to be okay with being someone's stepping stone, and just knowing that they might find something that you can't offer them and it's too good for them to pass up, or that's just the season of their life that they're in. We're a good fit, and then after that we might not be. So you have to be okay with letting someone leave gracefully, and if it's someone that you want back, you have to give them that, leave the door open for them, and if they leave and they come back, then that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially when a lot, you know, in our space, we do tend to hire younger, just more techie, a lot more savvy, and that is something that we, you know, cannot have an ego around, like we're the best thing ever that's ever going to happen to them in their lives. They're still new in their life, they're still new in their career and their development, and they're still in that exploratory stage of, I'm going to learn new skills. And if I can help someone build their resume, one of our marketing coordinators we had pre-2020, she did that. Like, I truly believe that even in that marketing position, we do so much different types of media and marketing that she built an incredible resume and was, you know, able to get an incredible opportunity with a marketing company. And I love being a part of that. It does suck to lose really great people, but again, I think, you know, and something that Katy has seen, that better comes along. You know, they're not always, that's not your end all be all. And like, you know, just kind of echoing what she said, sometimes people are in your life for a year, sometimes a minute, sometimes they stay with you 3 or 4 years, and they're all serving a purpose. And when they choose, right, when they choose to go and do something for them, like, how can you be upset with someone that's going to choose something for themselves to be better? I don't see how you can be upset. Does it cause a void? Does it hurt culture a little bit for a minute? Yeah. I mean, that's a struggle to say, like, you know, we're good, you know, what questions, and very open with the people who chose to stay, with the agents that chose to stay, and they're like, nope, we totally get it, we're here, and you know, you talk about it and you move on.
And in some of those cases, I think what happened is you top graded faster than you would have if they didn't leave on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And you ended up with higher quality people.
Well, even like what, you know, one was a producer, and what I would say to rainmakers that gone through, when top producers on the team leave, you have to understand that just because someone on your team, an agent, produced X number of units, you lost the producer, not the units. Like, because if you're truly believing in your value proposition and your systems that help to build people up, that didn't change. That didn't go anywhere. Like, those are still there. Those are still the meat core of your business. And yes, tenure does, you know, have some referrals that leave, but your business should not fail because you created that beast. Like, you created everything to help someone grow. And there's tons of opportunity for other people to step up or to be included in that.
Did you guys get more clarity over the past year on your mission and vision for the team?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like in terms of creating vision and casting vision as a rainmaker and as a director of operations? Do you guys co-create a vision? Is it your vision, Cece? Katy, what's your role in casting vision? Like, let's talk around that.
I mean, the mission, I would say the mission is my mission for people. I mean, we were collective in our core values. and choosing like what those would be. But, you know, my mission has always been to, you know, help others succeed in real estate so that success funds their passions in life, because I believe real estate is the way for future wealth. So that to a core, whatever that means, you know, if someone wants to build an investment income, if that just simply means getting a better car, if that means providing for their family, if that means, you know, creating income so their husbands don't have to travel and they can be at home more, whatever that is, I want real estate income with our team to be able to fund that. And so that the people on our team become financially smart and educated about what to do with money, and how to build wealth. But I mean, I think we really got clear on the people that we're bringing in, that if we are not 100% like, yes, I want you, like 100%, then it's a no.
Yeah. And then for me, I think it's setting the expectations up front. So whether that be with the people who are on your team and you're not planning on them leaving, but recasting that vision and those expectations for what the vision for the organization is, you know, if they're bought in or not. And if they're not bought in, there's no point in them being there, because otherwise it's just a matter of time before they leave. And so that's something that I learned over the last 12 months, I'd say. And so I recast the vision in 2020 because everyone's trying to be, okay, this is going to be great. Like, we're going to get through this. And so, you know, the people who are going to stick with you or not, and it makes the people who do stick with you, it gives you a different perspective on them and a different respect, because you've been through a really hard time together in business, and then also in personal, because it was personally really hard for a lot of people. Yeah. So you have those different relationships and you appreciate them a lot more when they stick with you through that. And then everyone else, you're recasting the vision when you're hiring. And so I think that that's really important, is to be very clear on what you're looking for within the team and then for your customers. And I think that that's huge to do. And so that's a big piece that I've played in it internally with the hiring on everyone that we've brought on. And I mean, the culture on the operations side has literally never been better.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Did you guys ever question yourselves or your leadership during those times?
Oh, every day. Literally every day.
Oh my God. What did that feeling in the conversation look like? Because there are people that don't, I mean, I love that CC was beating that drum of like, change is great, we're going to be good. I had my top producer walk out in 2020, and man, I lost, I'm not going to curse, but I lost my something. And it was really tough. Now we've come through that, and we had the best year we've ever had. And we had so many amazing things happen, and so many people, stepped up into a different leadership role. And so now looking back, I'm like, I should have been banging that same drum, but man, did I question myself and who I was. So walk us through that. I mean, we know, you guys must have had some conversations that were like, what do we do?
So I mostly had those conversations actually with Christy. There was one point where I remember it was during COVID, we were working from home still, and I called Cece, and I was just so overwhelmed because a lot of stuff personally and then with work, and you feel like you're not doing a good job. Some people are even more productive at home. I am not one of those people, especially with a 2-year-old. Like, that is just, I was just so overwhelmed in general. And so I called Cece one day, and because I just talked to Christy, and we made a plan on how I was going to kind of bring what I was going through to Cece. And then Cece called me, and again, she's very in tune with me. She called me and she was like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, we were just talking, and I was just telling her things, and I was very short and quiet. And she's like, what's going on? And I literally just lost it in my backyard. I remember I was walking around my backyard just crying like a crazy person at 12 in the afternoon. And it was just, I don't feel like I'm doing a good job. And so those were one of those times where I didn't come out and say, I need you to tell me, but it bottled up to where I needed her to just know what to do. And she did at the time when it came down to it. And so that was really hard. And then reflecting internally about what piece did I have in the past people not working out in my operations department, because I really run that side of it. Cece really does all the agents, and I've really taken over for the operations. And so that was a tough pill to swallow. Like, maybe I should have done this better. Maybe I should have done this better. But okay, again, people make mistakes. How are you going to move forward, and how are you going to let that not happen again? And so I think that I've grown a lot, even just in the last 6 months since we've had all that turnover, because I know what not to do and what people need. And I'm also more in tune with the emotional side of it. Like, okay, even if it doesn't come natural, I force myself to say, hey, like, what's going on at home? And that's not my first question normally. And then now I end every conversation on the phone. If I'm not with them in the office, I end every conversation with, what can I do for you? And that is internally, like, for me, has changed my perspective. And I think it also means a lot to other people.
I think that's been huge. And I think that's going to take you into 2021 so much stronger. I think a lot of people in your role are in that same place where we think all the time about what we do, but we forget about part of our job is how helping people feel. How does what we do impact how they feel? And you have transitioned your leadership to include relationships and not just doing the things.
Yeah, I agree.
Tell me really quickly, who holds the agents? I know, so Katy, I know that you hold your team accountable for ops, but who holds the agents accountable on the team?
It's kind of a group effort. I mean, we've gone back and forth to weekly, monthly, and group. And honestly, where we are right now is it's a twice a month group, where because what we started in October, when we had our team advance in October, was really just, a reset. It was the recast of the vision, and that it was something that we all collectively shared our goals and why. And so we want to continue that. And so we all know each other's goals. Like, we're a bunch of girls, we're a girl team. Like, we know each other's shit. We know our personal lives, we know our business lives. So like, why are we going to keep our goals separate? They know if there's something personal or private, then we can talk about it. But I mean, we do the group, we just call it group skills training, where we're going through their pipeline twice a month. We're going through like all the leads that the ISA has set, all the appointments that the ISA has set for them, agent referrals, and then I'll go through and just start asking them about their follow-up and their tags and how they're structured, and how you're staying in touch, and do you have tasks? I mean, we're all just collectively talking, and then I'll just start asking questions like, okay, so if this is your hurdle, and well, have you done this, and have you done this? And it's that mastermind type thing that I really love, and the problem solver and me, that just comes so natural. It's like, okay, well, you've got our needs, like, have you done this? And let's do this. Okay, great. So what are you doing this week? And then I give them this 2 weeks, because honestly, I know as an agent, weekly can be overwhelming, especially with everything going on. So I think having it in a group setting, even though it's a little longer, we're all sharing our goals together. And again, I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, you have to sell this many homes. I think if someone is selling the amount of homes and making the income that they're happy with, and we're having conversations around growth, and when they're ready to make that step in growth, that we're here and we're going to be supportive of them. But I mean, everybody wants something different for themselves. Everyone is on the team, I think, for a little bit different reason. And some people really like the culture, and some people like the accountability, some people like the systems, and some people are going to be there for the growth, because we've had agents make anywhere, they could have a consistent $40,000, $50,000 a year salary, and they can make over $300,000 with our team. It's their choice, it's their road, and I'm here for them. Like, truly, I am here for them.
Very good. Well, so tell us really quickly, what do you believe, because we veered off a little bit from the questions, but I do want to go back to, what do you guys believe is the best thing you've done together? What is the very best thing?
So many. Before, so I don't know. I think just making it through 2020. Like, I honestly, I think that's a big, like, together, I think that's the biggest thing that we did. We were able to make it through all of the tough times of losing that many people, because that's not an easy thing to do, I don't think. And so I think just continually building and growing all of the systems that we have, and just being on the same page with that, and her letting me take the reins on systems and operations and things like that. I think that that's just how we've gotten to where we are. So I think it's just kind of like an overall our relationship. And I don't know, that's not a great answer, but that's just kind of what comes to mind.
Big win.
Yeah.
Perfect answer. No, and I think 2020 was really, I mean, I think most of us, and I think you'll agree, you know, a lot of us leaders will look back on 2020 and go, that's the year. Like I was a totally different person after that, because it just threw us for so many loops and we had to do so many different things to get to where we were. And it was really fun to watch you guys take it to the next level and accomplish everything that you did in that year. And now knowing all of the backstory and all the things that were happening behind the scenes, everybody only ever sees the pictures with Cece and the balloons, the golden balloons of like, hey, we're doing all the things, right? And so to know that there was dramas, it's good.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourselves in 2020?
You go first.
Say probably not a great answer. It's, you know, that I know I'm a very sturdy person. And it is a lot to go through. And there, you know, there's probably one person that really affected me personally when they left, because we are actually like really great friends. And other than that, it's that I know it's just always proving to yourself over and over that you're always so much stronger, you know, than what you believe you can withstand a lot. I mean, a lot. And even though it's strong, and every single year you just see like, man, look what good came out of that. I mean, there's so much good came out of that year. And so it's one thing, it's just a constant reminder that when I look back over every single year of business, that for everything that happened, right, I call it an event. It's not good, it's not bad. For every event that happens, there you look back and you look at all the changes, how much you've grown. You know, leadership is learned. It's learned. So if you make mistakes, and I mean, certainly I've had, you know, an assistant in the past, I had to learn how to communicate, even though it's still a struggle. I mean, I had someone walk out and say, you know what, you're a really nice person, but in business, you're a bitch, and walked out the door on me. So that was just a learning experience. And you know what, but it did teach me a very good lesson. So just number one, I probably did not hire the right person to handle me, right? That person was way too emotional for my taste, and had to get better at hiring. I said I hired every single year. There must have been at least 7. It was terrible. And I don't know that you're ever really perfect. So I think just having the experience of going through all the mess that you're like, I did that, you know, I came out of that.
Yeah.
Well, we don't learn as much when things are easy and success is easy. We're just kind of cruise. And it's when you go through the tough stuff that you learn so much and get stronger, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think it kind of like how Cece said, it's just, it sounds so cheesy, but like you're stronger than you think you are, and the leadership is learned. And I feel like I've learned so much in the last year, because I finally learned my position. And so that was a big deal. And so, I mean, for the most part, I've learned it. There's still some questionables, but I've learned my position. And so now I'm learning to be a leader. And I feel like I've come a complete 180 in the last, I mean, even in the last 12 months, just with my outlook on where I'm at on the team. And so I'm able to be that person that says, okay, well, I understand your frustrations, but okay, I'm listening to what you're saying, but this is someone else's opinion on this, and this is why they're taking it that way, or whatever the case is. So I've become a little bit more of a neutralizer, kind of like how Cece said earlier, because I am able to see the full picture a little bit better than I have in the past. So that's something that I've learned. That would probably be like my biggest thing, is that I've learned that I can step up and do what I didn't think I'd be able to do, and have the conversations that I was scared to have or intimidating. So I feel like I've come a long way in that sense.
I love that. You have 360 vision, tunnel vision.
Love Love it.
Love it.
Well, so last question, then we will thank you and let you go. But this is one of those questions that, this is what this is all about, is Christy and I love to ask people, is there such a thing as the purple unicorn, or can leaders be created and trained? And so I think I know what your answers are going to be, but how do you feel about it? Did you just show up day one knowing I'm going to be a leader, I'm going to be awesome? Can we train them and teach them?
No, not at all. I think that it's definitely a training, because you can have someone, myself, I wasn't like a natural born leader. I was always a driver, but I didn't look at myself as a leader. And so fine tuning what that means to be a driver and turning that into leadership, I think is huge, because we have some amazing people on the team, and I want to help them get to that full leadership. So when we execute our 5,000 unit plan, our 10,000 unit plan, they're the ones that are going to be at the top of the totem pole when we have all of those departments, because I want to know that they're going to stick with us and they're going to learn so much with us that they're not going to want to leave.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
I agree. Leadership is definitely learned. I think there are some natural born leaders. They have natural leadership skills. And it takes learning people. It does. It takes reading. It takes experience. It takes mentors. Even, conversations like these of learning, like, okay, well, that's normal. That's okay. Okay, that person left me. What was the reason? The same thing you would ask a seller, well, you didn't hire me. What was the reason? You're constantly looking to better yourself. And I think at a core, if you are looking to grow your leadership, that has to be true to you, is you have to want to get better. You have to want to look at yourself from all the angles that everyone sees you, the good, the bad, the blind spots, what true, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You have to realize that there's so much more, and that you're in the center, and literally it's the people around you that are going to take you where you want to go. So if you don't know yourself and you're not open to changing and adapting to your people and truly hearing what they say, I don't have a company without them. I don't have a business without them. So their perspectives and their opinions on where we go and, the things we spend money on, it is important to me, because if I'm just making decisions, it's my company, I'm going to do it. That's a complete disrespect for the people around me. And so I think truly being gracious of everyone around you is going to grow your leadership and understanding who you are and who you want them to be with you.
Love it.
That was
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you for bringing us out in that. That was a great question to end with. And I really appreciate your time. I know that so many people are saying, hey, love this so much. And so they're going to be commenting. If they want to get a hold of you, give you referrals, how can they do that?
Yes, I can email Katy. You can always find me on Facebook, the Messenger.
It's easier if you just come to me, though.
Let's go to Katy. Katy at Sellin with CC, Katy at sellinwithcc.com. Mm-hmm. And we're in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, and Fernandina.
And you can find CC on Clubhouse pretty much 24/7 and on TikTok.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. We learned so much, and we really appreciate you giving us this hour, and we'll let you go. Have a great day, and people will be in touch.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.